One question that comes up an awful lot is how is it that Tesla can make a better car when others are selling at the same price or just about as cheap or maybe even cheaper are making absolute garbage and sometimes losing money while doing it? Let's figure that out. I'm Brian. Welcome to Futuraza. Well, the first answer is if it seems too good to be true, it probably is. Yeah, it probably is too good to be true. And let's talk about that a little bit. Let's look at some of these companies. They're losing money on purpose. And there's some examples of that over history. You've got your MoviePass. Do you remember MoviePass? That was a very silly company. They had this great business model where it was $30-40 a month and you could go to unlimited movies. But at $40 a month, you've got to go to like 3, maybe 4, 5 movies to break even. Not many people would do that. Then they brought in this new CEO who was a slash and dash kind of guy, and he slashed the price to $10 a month. Didn't make any sense. A lot of people were saying, well, they can do it. They can lose money by finding another way to make money. Maybe they're going to sell your data. And I would ask people, what data are they acquiring from this? What possible information are they gathering? Well, they know what movies people like. Well, we already have a way to determine that. It's called ticket sales. So that's not the answer. That's not the answer for MoviePass. No, the answer was they start collecting the $10 and they'd spend 2 weeks, 3 weeks, 4 weeks to get you out your card. But it didn't matter because you would get your card and you would get your unlimited movies for $10. And they would just kind of ride that out. They raised a bunch of money, use that to pay for the tickets, and next thing you know, they're gone. So that's too good to be true. The dot-com bubble, same kind of thing. A lot of this stuff was too good to be true. Look at this service I can get at this price that doesn't make sense. Right, we're losing money. We're losing a lot of money. And there were additional shenanigans there where they would have these contracts with their friends' companies and just kind of pass the same money around in a circle. Yeah, we're paying $40 million a month for advertising, but that company is spending $40 million a month on our products. Well, you try and sell off one of those companies and that $40 million contract disappears and you realize there's nothing here. Too good to be true. There's also something a little bit more modern. Startups that don't even have a prototype. Look at our beautiful CGI. Look at this. This is the finest render Fiverr can offer. Well, that's great, but renders are cheap. Prototypes are easy. Production is hard. So what are they doing? How are they surviving while losing money? So let's look at some actual ways of losing money. So you've got the companies that lose money on accidents. So you've got the companies that lose money on accident. When I was a banker, one of our big scary rivals, I think their name was like eHome or eLoan, something like that. eMortgage maybe. And we were very scared. They've got these incredible simplifications. They don't have offices. They don't have high commission loan officers. They don't have any of these encumbrances. Well, we went to a semi-annual meeting, and it was just after the acquisition of Great Western, and we saw that even though we'd acquired this other bank, and our costs were, 50 basis points or something like that to create a loan. Maybe it was 10 basis points, something like that. Before the merger, and Great Western's was 11 or 12. After the merger, our cost of acquisition was something like 8 basis points, and eHome's was something like 150 basis points. They were bleeding money. Even though they had the simplest, cheapest model, they couldn't make money. That's losing money on accident. They should have been able to make money, and they just couldn't. But let's get modern. Nikola lost money on accident on their actual trucks. They really thought they could do it. They thought they could make them at a price that would have them in business. Of course, they did have their losing money on purpose part. Things like the Badger, that was never going to happen. Things like the resurrection of the Badger recently, never going to happen. Not a real thing. You've got companies losing money on accident like VinFast. They're really trying to make money, but they can't. You've got companies like Li Auto, Xiaopeng, and all of the Chinese manufacturers apart from BYD. They're really trying to make money at this. It's just really, really hard. So losing just a bit, let's pretend like we tried. We're just losing a little bit. We can get our head above water. So that's where you find Ford and GM and all the legacy guys. They are losing money. Tesla's got a $35,000 car. Well, you know what? We're going to make a $35,000 car. But we're not going to make millions of them because we lose money on every one. And if you lose money on a gross basis, on the actual cost of goods to build the car, the only way to lose less money is by building fewer cars. And these companies are very good at building fewer cars. We saw GM recently say, oh, yeah, that million we were going to make by 2026, it's going to be more like 40,000, maybe 60. We were only off by like 90 to 95% of our target. Oh, and we were going to do it with 30 models. 30 models? At the time, they didn't have, what, 1 or 2 models? That's insane. You can't do it. But they can pretend. We're going to lose a little bit of money on one side, make a bunch of money on the other side on internal combustion, subsidize it. We're going to be at 35 grand. It's going to look good. So just losing a bit. There are unserious people in this play. There are a lot of unserious companies doing this. Honda, Ford, Toyota, all of them, very unserious. And they're just losing a little bit of money, so they don't care. If they have to recall every car they've ever made, like GM did with the Bolt, it doesn't matter because it's not that many cars. Now let's talk about the real value vehicles. Tesla said we're going to make a Cybertruck. It's going to be 40 grand. So Ford immediately comes out and says we're going to make a truck. It's going to be 40 grand. Well, before the Cybertruck could ever come out, Ford released that $40,000 truck. How? How could they do that? The battery alone probably cost 20 grand. Well, they did it by losing money, just in small numbers. That $40,000 truck was very hard to find. They sold very, very few of them. So the first way that they're making these cheap cars is by not actually making them, by making very, very few of them, by trying to up option them to 80,000, 100,000, so that they actually can make money on a per unit basis. So that's pretty good. That $40,000 truck, for all intents and purposes, did not exist. I know a lot of people who really wanted it, who really tried to buy it, and they could not. So then you get to companies that are actually breaking even. BYD has a lot of cars that are very cheap and very compelling, but they're still barely making any money. They've got a $10,000, $11,000 car in China. I think that one's the Dolphin, no, the Seal, no, the Sea Pup, who knows? But it is very cheap, but they keep marking it down just to get market share, just to get more units out the door. If they jacked it up to a reasonable price where they were making a reasonable margin, 20%, even 10%, even 10% net, that means that they would have fewer sales and maybe they would still only make 5% or 2%. So that makes it tough. Then you've got the BYD Seal, which is the Model 3 competitor. Kyle from Out of Spec recently drove one. By the time this video comes out, I may have also driven one. And apparently it's quite good, but no Tesla killer. It's a little more luxurious because adding luxury to the cabin is easy and technology is very hard, but it's a good car on which they're probably not making much, if any, money. So these are good cars in some ways on which these companies are not making money. So when you say other people are making $35,000 cars, other people are making things like the Model Y for the same price, or even a little bit less. The price alone is not a sign of health. This does not tell you what you need to know to actually determine if this company is in a healthy position. It's not enough for the Equinox to come out at 35 grand. Maybe they do make it at that price. That's the wrong price. They do not have the ability to make that car and sell it at a profit for 35 grand. Just look at it. It's the size of a Model Y. That is too many atoms to sell in an EV for $35,000. You will lose money on every unit you sell. So the real question isn't who is the price leader. The real question is, who is the cost of goods sold leader? And right now, it is pretty clear that that is Tesla. They are among the highest margin auto companies in the world, despite making pretty expensive products that they try to sell to the everyman. 35 grand is a great deal. It's well below the national average for a new car, but it's still expensive. A lot of people need to be in the 20, 25,000 range. Not many cars under that. I know people who still want a $10,000 or $12,000 car. Those are gone. The safety that goes into cars, the tech that has to go into cars in order to get the efficiency that you need to be a legal vehicle costs more than that. Then you've got your dealer markups and all that. You just can't do it. So how does Tesla make a car that people actually want to buy at a price people will actually pay while still having a healthy margin? And the answer is by pushing forward on technology. They lost billions for years. They built the machine that builds the machine. Their factories are more efficient. They started from square one when they could in sites like Austin, Shanghai, and Berlin. Those factories are very efficient. They've cut down the space required. Then they went to the mega castings or giga castings. That reduces the robots needed, that reduces the floor space needed, that also makes the build quality easier to maintain while moving quickly. The time it takes to assemble a car is faster. Then they shortened the days of inventory. A normal, healthy amount of days on inventory is probably in the 60 to 90 day range. Tesla's never been anywhere close to 30. They have routinely 15 to 20 days of inventory on hand. They've had it much, much lower. That means that since most car parts are sold on a net 30 basis, they have 30 days from the time they take delivery of the parts until they actually have to pay for it. There is a very high likelihood that within those 30 days, the car is sold, meaning they don't have to borrow money or use their cash reserves in order to pay for parts for a car that will not sell. It means they can actually keep that money themselves and spend it on other things, invest it, actually get interest on it instead of paying interest on it. That right there could be 1-2% of the cost of the car saved right there. They have all their software in-house. That makes them very nimble. They've found ways to eliminate processes and procedures. People love to complain, too much is on the touch screen. The touch screen is saving money, because if you have to put all the wires to adjust your mirrors all throughout the car like that, it doesn't just add copper, it adds complexity, it adds installation time, it adds repair costs for warranty. All of that is things that they've said, we can save $5, just $5. If it's $5 a car and they're selling 2 million cars, I mean, do I have to do the math for you? That's a couple dollars. That's 10 million a year. A year. Over 10 years, that's $100 million. And it's not $5 because that's just one thing out of all the things. You save $50 for one factory, and it's a factory that makes 1 million cars like Giga Shanghai. $50, million cars, that's 50 million, that's $500 million over 10 years. You're talking real money. So that's how Tesla's able to do it, and that's how the competition is not. What did I miss? What did I misunderstand? Leave it in the comments below. Stay tuned. You know what you're doing. And I cannot wait to hear from you clever robots when I'm back off the road, which at this point feels like it's going to be never. It will be the end of the month, though. Oh, you guys, having fun on the road. Thank you all to my patrons, to my YouTube subscribers, channel members, and to my subscribers on X who make journeys like this possible. It means a lot to me, and I thank you.